Listen, lean closer. For this is no simple tale. It is a story of shadows and of light, of curses and prayers, of despair and survival. It is the story of a mother, Emona, and her daughter, Esiname. Emona was given to a man the elders praised as educated. They promised her a future, told her her children would be blessed. But knowledge does not make a man kind. The man was stingy, arrogant, and cruel. He stole her wages, stripped her dignity, and left her with nothing. She endured for years, carrying burdens she should never have borne until the weight broke her. At last, Emona left him, choosing her own survival. But his pride burned like fire, and to strike her hardest, he took their daughter. He placed Esiname in his sister's house and swore, "You will not see her again." From that day, mother and daughter lived apart. Esiname entered a house heavy with shadows. Her father's family were not ordinary people. They were keepers of witchcraft, steeped in old rituals passed down like poisoned heirlooms. At night they gathered, black candles flickering, chalk symbols glowing on the walls, knots tied into cloth, charms buried beneath her bed. And always her name whispered again and again, "Esiname, Esiname, Esiname." The shadows answered. Faceless figures clawed her in dreams. Hands pressed her chest until her breath fled. Voices hissed until her bones trembled. She woke trembling, but when she cried out, her aunt mocked her. "Foolish girl, be silent." So she was silent. She bottled her tears, buried her fear, and built walls inside herself. Walls to protect, walls to hide behind. She was only 6, but already she knew what it was to suffer in silence. Meanwhile, Emona's suffering deepened. After leaving her first husband, she bore 2 children to another man, hoping for peace. But this man's cruelty was sharper, his control heavier. He believed she would never leave him. But he was wrong. He loved his children, yes, but Emona loved her freedom more. She walked away again, scarred but unbroken. And in that solitude, she discovered her true weapon, prayer. At first, her voice trembled, but soon her cries shook heaven. Her tears became arrows. Her songs became fire. Her whispers became thunder. While witchcraft cursed her daughter, Emona blessed her name. While knots were tied, she untied them in the unseen. While shadows pressed in, her prayers rose like shields of light. And so the battle raged, witchcraft against prayer, darkness against faith. Esiname was scarred but not destroyed, wounded but alive. Her mother's prayers wrapped her like fire, unseen but unbreakable. Years passed. Esiname grew into a woman, still guarded, still scarred. She poured herself into studies, believing perhaps education would give her what love never did, security. She worked through sleepless nights, carried student loans like chains, and pressed on until at last she held a master's degree. The crowd cheered, her peers smiled. Everyone said, "You made it, Esiname." But when the applause faded, there was silence. Not triumph, not joy, silence. For the loans remained, the jobs did not come. And the shadows whispered again, this time not from witchcraft, but from within. "You are still nothing. You climbed, but you are still broken. You succeeded, but you are still alone." Depression wrapped around her like a second skin. Mornings, she could not rise. Nights, she stared at the ceiling, drowning in silence. She smiled in public, but her smile was hollow. She laughed with friends, but her laughter rang false. And when she was alone, the silence screamed. Another battlefield, another war, the same shadows in a new disguise. But Emona's prayers did not stop. They rose like fire every dawn. They roared like thunder every night. "God, heal my daughter. God, silence the lies. God, call her by name." And one night, when depression's claws tightened, a greater voice broke in. The same voice that once shattered witchcraft's grip thundered again. "Esiname, you are mine." The whispers fell silent. The darkness recoiled. Light poured into her cracks. The walls she had built since childhood began to crumble. She wept not with fear, but with release. From that moment, she turned. She searched for her mother. She found Emona. And when they embraced, years of absence melted away. Chains fell. Curses broke. Silence shattered. But the story does not end there. For the shadows tried one final time, rising with bitterness and rage. Witchcraft hissed, "She belongs to us." Depression whispered, "She cannot escape." Both reached for her once more. And then Emona stepped forward, her knees to the ground, her arms lifted high. She was no longer the woman mocked and beaten by men. She was a warrior of prayer. Her words burned like fire. Her cries became walls of flame. "You will not take her. She is mine. She is God's." The shadows shrieked, the despair cracked, and above it all, the voice of God thundered, Esiname, you are mine. The curses burned to ash, the depression shattered like glass, the darkness fled. And Esiname, the child of silence, the woman of scars, stood free. Tears streamed down her face, but they were not tears of defeat. They were tears of victory. She turned to her mother and felt the love that had fought for her through every storm. Together they stood, mother and daughter, survivor and survivor, warrior and warrior. Their scars shone, their enemies were gone. Esiname made her choice. Her father, his family, their witchcraft, no more. Their curses could not bind her. Their voices could not touch her. Their shadows could not follow her. She walked forward with Emona, not as a victim, but as a survivor. Not as broken, but as whole. So remember this story. Witchcraft rose, but faith roared louder. Depression pressed, but light broke through. Men tried to break her, but love made her whole. This is the story of Emona, the unbroken, and Esiname, the scarred but rising. A story of shadows defeated, of curses burned away, of scars turned into testimony. And when you remember it, remember this. No chain is stronger than love, no shadow darker than light, and no curse louder than the voice of God, calling a child by name.
Audio Jungle.